You know how there are just some actors where you always think of them in one light, but they're also really good at something else that you just never remember? For example, like Jason Bateman. For me, I always think of him as a dramatic actor, even though I know he's been in comedies and I know he has a great sense of timing. You know, it's the weirdest thing, right?
From the old movies of 30 years ago and beyond,
to the world of the new films of the last 30 years.
To the movies that are now playing, this is Old, New, and Now Playing. And now, here's your host, Will Robinson Smith.
Hello and welcome to Old, New, and Now Playing, your time machine through the world of movies. I'm your host, Will Robinson Smith. Thank you so much for joining me today. And you know, I personally really love games, and I also love comedies too. Sometimes they work really well together and you get some really excellent gems. Other times you get steaming piles of garbage. So, which end of the spectrum does game night fall under? Well, you'll just have to roll the dice and hope you get a Yahtzee. This is your feature presentation. Game night centers around hyper-competitive couple Max and Annie, played by Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams respectively. The two host a game night for their friends every week, usually consisting of your classics. Charades, Pictionary, Scrabble, you know, the staples. Things shift, however, when Max's brother Brooks, played by Chandler, comes back to town and tries to one-up Max by having a really realistic murder mystery game night at a big mansion that he's renting. And as this is a comedy, things go sideways when Brooks is kidnapped for real while the friends still think it's a game.
Guys, make sure you get a piece of this cheese. It's just...
First one that follows us gets shot.
Okay, roger that. You drive safe.
The cast is rounded out by Billy Magnuson, Lamorne Morris, Kylie Bunbury, Jesse Plemons, and Sharon Horgan. So I was a bit skeptical going into this one. I mean, the trailers looked fine but not great, and then when you look at the crew who's behind the camera, they've been kind of hit or miss in their careers. The writer of Game Night doesn't have a lot of credits to his name. He wrote the screenplay for Disney's The Country Bears in 2002 and the story for Herbie Fully Loaded in 2005. His most recent major motion picture was the screenplay for Accepted with Justin Long and Jonah Hill, and that was back in 2006. As for the directors, Game Night is helmed by the duo of John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein. As directors, their only wide-release film was 2015's Vacation, which made over $100 million worldwide on a $31 million budget, but it bombed pretty hard with the critics getting only a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes. As a writing pair, they're batting about 500. They did give us Spider-Man Homecoming, Horrible Bosses, and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs too. But on the flip side, they're also the writers of The Incredible Burt Wonderstone, Vacation, and Horrible Bosses 2. So with all that potential baggage going into this movie, I was kind of apprehensive, and coming out of it, I was actually pleasantly surprised. One of the best parts about this movie is how well the cast works together. You primarily have three teams of two working throughout the movie, and the chemistry between all the pairs I thought worked really well. Certainly part of that credit goes to the script and the direction, but for an ensemble movie like this, a fair amount of credit also has to go to the casting director. For this movie, that would be Rich Delia. He's the casting director who helped bring together the cast of last year's It and The Disaster Artist, along with Dallas Buyers Club in 2013. Headlining the movie, of course, are Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams. The last time the two were on screen was almost a decade ago in State of Play. Here, the two are far less adversarial and have a fun, dynamic relationship where some of their quirks reveal a lot about their characters and their relationship without having to go into a lot of exposition, which is kind of nice. Their type of romance and connection reminded me a bit of Wade and Vanessa, actually, in Deadpool, with a good bit less raunch. And that was something else I really enjoyed about this movie too. You know, for a rated R comedy, it could have gone really lowbrow, super raunchy, but actually, I found it to be quite clever and pretty irreverent a lot of the time. One of my favorite things they did in this movie was using tilt-shift photography for a few of their establishing shots. It gave the scene a toy-like atmosphere and made the world feel like a board game. It also didn't feel overused, which was important. As for the story itself, it's a little generic. It's nothing groundbreaking for a murder mystery, but I certainly felt more engaged with this than, say, the remake of Murder on the Orient Express, for example. The characters more than make up for it, and there are some really fun running gags throughout the movie. I obviously can't go into the story too much without giving away spoilers, but I thought the reveals for the most part worked really well, the humor landed a lot of the time, and I found myself laughing out loud for a good part of this movie. Will this end in my top 10 of the year? Well, probably not. But it was certainly better than what I was expecting, and I think a fun one to watch with a bunch of people laughing along with you. I give Game Night a solid 7.5 out of 10. So that's my take on Game Night. When you've had a chance to see the movie, I want to hear what you thought about the film, and also in sort of a related movie news sort of manner, I want to hear what your thoughts are on the potential remake of the 1985 cult classic Clue by 20th Century Fox. According to Deadline, last month, Ryan Reynolds' production company Maximum Effort signed a 3-year first-look deal with 20th Century Fox to develop the film. Deadpool writers Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick are also being eyed for the project, but nothing is set in stone at this point, so just put a pin in that for now. And that will do it for this episode of Old, New, and Now Playing. If you enjoyed the review, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That would be really helpful. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That way you can keep up to date on all of the videos, movie reviews, and all the like that are coming out in the very near future. And if you haven't already, I made a Facebook page as well, so that's an easier way for you to get in connection with me. And I'll be posting some updates, announcements, polls on there as well, so things to look out for in the future as well. Thank you, as always, so much for watching, and I will see you next time.